Good evening and welcome to BCN News. The former Premier, Sir Toke Tufukia Talangi, has been described as a champion of the country at his state funeral yesterday. The state funeral for the former Premier was held at the Alofi Ekalesia Church yesterday morning. Officiated by the Reverend Nevi Salatielu of the Alofi Ekalesia, he was assisted by the President of the Niue Ekalesia, Reverend Nuka Tawevihi, and Reverend Arthur Pihingia of the Hakupu Ekalesia. The procession started from the Falefono led by the Boys and Girls Brigades carrying the Niue flag. The eulogy was delivered by Sir Toke's two daughters Sonia and Peleni Talangi. Throughout the service, the Ekalesia Alofi, the Hakupu Ekalesia and the Niue Youth Choir sang the hymns. The Premier, Honourable Delton Tagilangi, spoke on behalf of the government.
Wondering, how do we say farewell or say goodbye to a person who has had great influence in most of our lives? How do we farewell or goodbye to a man who, for all intent and purpose, served his country until he can do so no more? Even when he knew he could not carry on, he was still prepared to give it one last chance. He never gave up because of his love for his people and for his Niue. Sir Toke Tufukia Talangi, Knight of the Realm, the country of Niue. The boy from Whakaleina, Rufitanga. Your life has come to an end. A life you gave freely and willingly in the service of your country. I thank you on behalf of our small nation. My sincere, profound greetings and respect to you, Lady Fifita, Peleni, Sonia, Nicholas, Hunga, the grandchildren, and also Brenda Cunningham, and the white families of the Sir Toke Tufukia Talangi. Is it unfortunate that COVID-19 restrictions worldwide has affected the funeral protocols for many travelers who would be here today? However, we acknowledge an appreciation message of deep sympathy and regrets from the Pacific Forum Island leaders, Australia and New Zealand Prime Ministers, and political party leaders in the New Zealand Parliament. Today we are reminded about the tough world that we inherited from our tupunas, our ancestors. Their struggles and sacrifice to build this country from rugged terrain and barren land to what it is today. The same legacy that Sir Toke eagerly continued with passion, love, and determination. We are reminded of our geographical remoteness from the rest of the world. Today we gathered here to honor and say goodbye to a great leader, a great father, a dear son of Niue, friend, and a dedicated servant of the Pacific and in the world. I wanted to say, Sir Toke has gave it his all for Niue. Sir Toke has gave it all for Niue. And that's why we are here today, in respect and being proud of him.
The Speaker, Honourable Hima Takelesi, spoke on behalf of the Niue Fono Ekepule and also read the messages of condolences from foreign leaders. The late Sir Toke Tufukia Talangi was laid to rest at the family's residence at Funokula. The new New Zealand High Commissioner to Niue, Helen Tana, has presented her letter of credentials to the Premier, Honourable Delton Tagilangi. Her Excellency Helen Tana completed her mandatory 14 days quarantine on Sunday, July 26th and presented her credentials to the Premier, Honourable Delton Tagilangi on Monday just before the state funeral. This was her first official duty as the new New Zealand High Commissioner. Members of Cabinet were also present at the Whalefono office to meet the new New Zealand High Commissioner. The new Australian High Commission is expected to open in Alofi later this year. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison outlined this in his condolence message on the passing of the former Premier Sir Toke Talangi, who Morrison said played a key role in supporting the establishment of an Australian diplomatic mission in Niue. The condolence message was read in the church service of the state funeral on Monday, July 27th, along with other messages from foreign leaders. Meanwhile, a DFAT spokesperson confirmed to BCN News that the Australian government will announce the inaugural High Commissioner to Niue in due course. Currently, Australia works with New Zealand through a delegated cooperation arrangement to support development activities in Niue. And finally, Niuean and Pacific climate change expert Carol Pasisi has told the UN Security Council that stopping climate change and reversing its effect is still the most important measure that can be taken to save island countries in the Pacific and across the world. Carol Pasisi is the Pacific representative on the Climate Security Expert Network. She was one of 3 speakers who briefed the UN Security Council on Friday morning on the request of the Council President Germany, which is seeking a greater understanding of climate change, security, and conflict implications. For the Pacific, she noted bringing climate issues to the Council's attention had been challenging because of the relative lack of conflict in the region compared with other parts of the world. She said there were numerous threats climate change posed to the Pacific, but she chose to focus the Council's attention on its impacts on the security of maritime boundaries, the blue economy or fisheries, and ocean livelihoods, and the displacement of the region's population. And that's your BCN News for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Do join us same time tomorrow. Until then, have a safe evening.